My name is Andrea Bassing-Matney, and I am the Community Outreach Programs and Support Specialist for Research Services at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. A few quick notes before we begin. You can submit your question for a speaker via Twitter using hashtag GenFair2014. The speaker will answer questions in the last 10 minutes of her presentation. For captioning, go to the virtual Genealogy Fair website and click on the link for today. The lectures will be recorded and posted on the virtual Genealogy Fair website by the end of November. Lecture number 9 is entitled National Archives Records Online at FamilySearch, and our speaker is Carol Petranek. Family history researchers will find many valued records housed at the National Archives. Many of those national treasures are available online, free of charge, and at FamilySearch.org. This presentation will examine how to locate and search the National Archives records available on the FamilySearch website. Carol serves as a co-director of the Washington, D.C. Family History Center. She volunteers at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. as a citizen archivist for the Civil War Widows Pension Project and as a genealogy aide in the research room. Thank you for joining us today, Carol. I'm turning the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. It's a delight to be with you all today, and I thank you so much for joining me. The National Archives is our country's most important record repository, especially for genealogists. In this presentation, we will review the National Archives records that are available free of charge online at FamilySearch. We'll cover the following. First, the National Archives records of principal records of genealogical interest, as identified by NARA, and as mentioned by our archivist, David Ferrero, in his opening comments yesterday. We'll review each of these and see how they can be accessed on the FamilySearch website. We'll look briefly at FamilySearch.org, its purpose, the records it has, and how to access them, and also quickly how to navigate the FamilySearch website so that you can have access to the records that are of interest to you. I'll demonstrate how to find the records which have been digitized on FamilySearch. Some of FamilySearch's records are currently on microfilm. FamilySearch is in the process of digitizing its 2.5 million rolls of microfilm. If the record you need is not yet online, it soon will be. In the meantime, you can order the microfilm and view it at a family history center near you, and I will discuss how to do this in just a few minutes. We're going to look at some of the records from NARA that have been digitized on FamilySearch. And at the end, we'll have a brief question and answer period. This is what the National Archives has identified as records of greatest interest to genealogists and those doing genealogical research. Probably the records on the left side, the census, immigration, naturalization, land, and military records, are familiar to you, as they should be, for these are the records that contain the basic information that most of us are seeking. However, the National Archives has a rich collection that you may not be that familiar with. Records of people who interacted with the federal government, people of various races and ethnicities. We'll also be looking at some of these records to see which collections the National Archives has and which collections FamilySearch has that will be of help to you. But first, we're going to start with FamilySearch. What is FamilySearch? Who are they and what do they do and why? FamilySearch has been gathering the world's records for over 100 years. Teams of camera people have been scouring the world looking for those records of greatest interest to you. FamilySearch uses the newest technology to preserve the world's records. And FamilySearch is committed to sharing those records with you free of charge. And why does FamilySearch do this? It's because FamilySearch believes that families are strengthened and individuals are strengthened when they learn about their family history. As they see those who came before them, they can relate to many of the struggles and many of the triumphs that they have gone through. Partnerships are a key component to FamilySearch's success and to gathering the records throughout the world. There is far too much for any one organization to be able to capture, image, index, digitize, and put online the massive record collections that have been created since the beginning. By working together, FamilySearch, Ancestry, Find My Past, and My Heritage are helping to bring these records to you. By collaborating, these organizations are currently working together, and consequently, much of what is being produced on any one of these websites is often the result of a partnership between several of them. We are grateful at FamilySearch to have the opportunity to work with our friends and partners to bring the world's records to you. This is a picture of the Granite Mountain Records Vault, and yes, it is in a mountain. It is located southeast of Salt Lake City in Utah in the rugged Rocky Mountains that ring the city. Under 700 feet of stone, FamilySearch has constructed storage chambers that are bomb-proof and earthquake-proof. And here is where the records that FamilySearch has been collecting for the last 100 years are kept. As I mentioned, these records are in the process of being digitized. It will probably take another 4 to 5 years to complete the digitization. In the meantime, if there's a record that is microfilmed that you need, how will you access it? You can visit the FamilySearch Library in Salt Lake City. This is the world's largest brick-and-mortar genealogy library. People come through from all over the world to research here, and everything that they need is at their disposal. All the film that the FamilySearch has in the Granite Mountain Vault, microfiche, books, maps, as well as people who are specialists in specific areas of research. However, if you can't get to FamilySearch Library in Salt Lake City, you can go to one of the family history centers close to you. There are 4,700 centers in 126 countries. There you will find the assistance that you need. There are volunteers who are eager and willing to help you with your research. You will have access to any of the microfilm, microfiche, or other media that are held at the FamilySearch Library or that are kept in the Granite Mountain Vault. Also, at Family History Centers, you will have free access to many of the websites that you would have to pay subscription fees for if you were to have that access at home. That is called the FamilySearch portal. And through the computerized systems, the portal is free and available at any family history center anywhere in the world. You will be able to order your microfilm at home by going to familysearch.org/films, and you will be able to designate which family history center you would like that film sent to. When you go to your local family history center, there will be somebody there who can show you how to use the microfilm viewer, how to use the scanners, and that you'll be able to get that assistance to get the information that you need. This is a photo of Robert Dickey. Mr. Dickey is a FamilySearch volunteer who is working on the Homestead Act records being digitized here in Washington, D.C. Mr. Dickey and hundreds of people like him volunteer their time to digitize these records, collect them, and bring them to you. Once the records are digitized, they need to be name indexed so that you can search them by name. And FamilySearch has volunteers, over 200,000 throughout the world, who are digitizing, taking these digitized records, indexing them, and making them name searchable. We are grateful for all of the volunteers who work in the FamilySearch community to bring these records to you, and it's one of the reasons why FamilySearch is able to maintain its website and its records free of charge to the public. This is the homepage of FamilySearch.org. You can see that there are icons going across the screen, starting with fan chart, photos, family tree, search, indexing, and family booklet. These icons act as gateways to the website with all of the resources available on them. But today we're going to focus on search. So to begin our search and to show you how to search for the records you need on FamilySearch, we'll begin by clicking on the blue search button. Here is the general screen to conduct a search on FamilySearch across the entire collection of records. You can do a general search by name. Of course, you can fill in a first or a last name. You can also choose to use the filters that will help you to more specifically identify the people that you are looking for. Or you can search by location. To search by location, you would click on an area of the world in which you are interested in looking. Because we're going to be looking at federal records today that NARA has, we're going to focus our search on the United States. When I click on United States, I see some statistical data that comes up. Currently, there are 842 collections spanning the years from 1600 to today. In order to begin our search now, we're going to click in the green box where it says Start Researching in the United States. Now we also come to a search screen, but it looks a little different than the one before. This search screen is focused specifically on the United States because that's the area that we have clicked on. We can begin by doing a general name search, as I mentioned earlier, or we can choose to view a specific record collection. And you see that option underneath the second arrow that says View All 522 Collections. Now, we can also search for what are called image-only historical records. What this means is that these are records that are digitized and online on our website. However, they have not yet been indexed by name. Consequently, you would search for the specific record collection that you're interested in researching, and then as that record collection comes up, you will scroll through it, similar to a microfilm search. Also on this screen, you will see that there are some tools to assist you with learning more about the record collection that you are specifically looking for. The first is the Learning section. There are over 500 classes free online here at FamilySearch, taught by professionals and covering a broad range of genealogy topics. For United States records, you can see that there are 95 courses teaching you how to do family history research specifically in the United States. The second collection is the FamilySearch Catalog. This is a list of the microfilms held at that Granite Mountain vault that I just showed you. To see what microfilm collections are available for the United States, you would click on View Catalog and a list would come up. The third resource is the FamilySearch Wiki. I think most of us are familiar with Wikipedia, and that's exactly what the FamilySearch Wiki is. It is an encyclopedia which is continuously being updated to give you the most complete information on a record collection. I want to search specifically on World War I draft registrations, a popular and very helpful NARA collection. And so to do that, I first click on View All 522 Collections. I then scroll down until I come to the one that I am looking for, and here it is. U.S. World War I Draft Registration Cards. I see a camera next to this collection, and this indicates that the original images have been digitized and are viewable. If I see a collection name that does not have a camera, it means that it is an index-only collection. The individual images of the original records are not yet online. I'm looking for information on John Mercer. So under World War I draft registration cards, I will type in his name. And here are my hits. There are 356 results for John Mercer in this collection. You can see on the right that some of the abstracted information is viewable to you, and this will help you determine which John Mercer may be yours. I'm going to go ahead and click on John Bush Mercer. Here again is the abstracted information. When I'm ready to view the original document, I click on the camera and the original document comes up. You can see instantly that there is much more information here than there was on the index or on the abstract. We see John, where he lived. We see who his employer is. We also see his nearest relative, and on page 2 a physical description of him. A very cool thing on these original documents is to find the original signature, and here we see that John Bush Mercer signed this draft registration card at the bottom of page 1. I now have the option to download, print, save, share this by email or over social media. So, how many NARA records are currently online at FamilySearch? Right now, there are 230, but that number changes each week as more and more images are being converted from microfilm to digital, and as more digital collections are being captured by our camera teams and uploaded to FamilySearch. Looking at FamilySearch statistics, I have found that the most heavily accessed NARA collections are first the census, then military, immigration, and naturalization records. The Freedmen records are absolutely essential for African American research, and they are also well used. So, going back to one of the screens we looked at earlier, these are the National Archives collections that we are now going to explore on the FamilySearch website. Let's start with the census. Census is the most popular, and for good reason. They give us the snapshot of a family at a specific time and place in U.S. history. Census records are not all the same. Different census records ask different questions, and that is why you should look for your ancestor in all census records where he or she could possibly appear. Start with the one closest to us now, which is 1940, and work your way back every 10 years. And this was beautifully demonstrated in the most recent presentation just given on the Homestead Acts, on how you go ahead and start with information, work your way back, take those clues, and use them to send you to new records that are findable for you. One thing that was brought out this earlier today by Quentin from Ancestry.com is that censuses and all records were independently digitized and independently indexed by various companies. Therefore, if you don't find who you're looking for in one record collection, try a different one. Be sure that you don't overlook the special census collections. These were taken at various times, and they target different segments of the population. They have information on a specific population that is not asked for in the regular decennial census. Currently, at this time, FamilySearch has 76 collections of census record. These include the federal records that are kept by NARA and state census records that are kept by individual states. I'm going to search the 1910 census for Thomas C. Mercer, and I do so by going ahead and putting his name in the search box. I also know his residence, so I'll put that, Coleraine, Belmont County, Ohio, under residence place. Here is the results. There are not only names and birth dates, but look what else we can see on these abstracted records. We can see the spouse's name, the children's names, other people who lived in the household. By looking at these indexed and abstracted records, it will be much easier for us to zero in on the specific individual whom we are searching. In this case, I'm going to look at Thomas C. Mercer. Here again is an abstract for him, and also the wonderful camera that means that I'm going to be able to see the document. I'm going to click on that camera, and here is the 13th Census of the United States with Thomas Mercer, his wife Belle, and his children Roy and Jenny listed at the end of the page. You can also see when you look at the census that there's much more information here than what is abstracted. Whenever you have the opportunity to view an original record, always do so. The next collection we'll look at are passenger arrival records or immigration records. These records were first created in 1819. The earlier manifests required much less information than the ones created in the 1900s. Records in the 1900s are rich resources for you. They will provide not only the nationality, but the place of birth and the ship and the date that your ancestor came to this country in. Also, extremely important, they will give you the place of the immigrant's last residence, the key to finding your records in the old country. And also extremely essential, the name and address of the person that he is going to in the United States. And these are keys to additional relatives that you can research here. The National Archives has immigration records from the Customs Service and the INS. They are sorted first by the port where the ship arrived, and second by the date when the ship arrived. The National Archives in Washington has microfilm copies of all the passenger lists to 1955. The NORA regional offices also have selected microfilm copies. Here is an image from the National Archives microfilm. You will be able to print or scan this image at any of the NORA facilities. This particular one is the SS St. Louis sailing from Cherbourg on March 9th and arriving in New York on March 17th. Currently, FamilySearch has 44 collections of passenger arrival or immigration records from all ports. You can browse by port and date of arrival, and please note that FamilySearch also has the Mexico and Canada border crossings. These record collections vary. Some collections have both indexes and digital images. Some collections may have the digital images only that are not yet indexed, but they are browsable. Some collections may be indexed, and the original images may be housed on a partner site. You will need to just check and see for the areas that you're interested in which collections have which information. I did a search for Sophie Simonson, who arrived in Massachusetts, and I found her in the collection of the Massachusetts-Boston passenger list. She arrived on June 18, 1911. This is a fairly early manifest, but you'll still see information that's extraordinarily helpful to you. When you look at a digitized immigration record, you will always see at the top the name of the collection and the specific image that you're researching. These digitized images also provide you with that all-important citation information. Sourcing where you found a record is just as important as actually finding that record. A good source citation will enable you or anyone else to come back and find that record again at a later time. I cannot tell you how many times in my beginning research I found a record, I kept a copy of it, and then I wanted to go back and look at it again, perhaps try to see if there was a better image available online, and I just could not find it. So please, always cite your records. Next, we'll look at naturalization records. For myself, with my Greek ancestry, these are such an important key to my research, and I'm so grateful that I can find them at NARA and now online and digitized. Naturalization is the process by which an alien becomes an American citizen. The records they contain are priceless. Not only will you find the birth date and location in the native country, but you're going to find the immigration year, the ship of immigration, and also critically important, family information, the name of the spouse, the name of the children, and where the marriage and when the marriage took place, and where and when those children were born. So, how do you find these gems? The easiest way is to look in the census records, especially the census records in 1900, 10, 20, and 30. There are specific columns on them that ask not only for the year of immigration, but also if that person was naturalized. The first Naturalization Act was passed in 1790, and subsequent acts followed. This was a two-step process. Step 1, the applicant renounced his allegiance to any foreign country and stated that he was intending to become a U.S. citizen. Step 2 is where the applicant filed the petition for naturalization, which in actuality is the formal application for citizenship. He could only file this petition, however, after he met the minimum residency requirement, which was 5 years. Remember that not all aliens became citizens, and not all completed the process once they started it. The two-step process may not have occurred in the same court, and to complicate matters, it may not have even finished in the same state. Before 1906, your ancestor could have filed and received citizenship in any court, on the local up to the federal level. So he could have started in one court and finished in another. If he did naturalize before 1906, you'll need to look at state records, either the state archives for the state where the naturalization occurred, or the NARA regional office for the state where the naturalization occurred. After 1906, things got a little easier because paperwork was centralized at the INS. You can find naturalizations that were completed in federal courts in the NARA regional office that serves the area where your ancestor was naturalized. Currently, FamilySearch has 53 collections of state and federal records online. However, these do not include all records for every court in every state. You're going to have to look carefully at each collection to see exactly what it contains. Let me demonstrate. I'm going to do a search for one of my ancestors. When I typed his name in at FamilySearch, you can see that the index came up that he was naturalized in 1928 in New York. To view his record, I am directed to a partner site, in this case, one of FamilySearch partners, which is fold3.com. I click on the blue button to view the partner site, and there on Fold 3, I see the digitized image of both the index card and his petition. As I said before, these are the resources that you want to pursue and you want to find. Among the gems, again, is a signature, Andrew Kostakos. And quite frankly, for this man, this is the only thing I have for him that would have his signature on it. So it is a delight for me to have this document. Next, we're going to cover land records. Land records are often overlooked by beginning genealogists, yet they can provide so much valuable information. There is a presentation on land records later this afternoon at 4 o'clock that will go into this collection in much greater detail. Land records place ancestors in a specific location at a specific time, and thus they will give you clues to search for additional research in that location. This was demonstrated so well in the presentation prior to this one on the homestead records, where land records were used to winnow out many people of the same name. The land records that are of most interest to genealogists are the land case entry files. These show how public land was transferred from the U.S. government to private ownership. These records may contain information such as age, birthplace, military service, and even citizenship. Tract books began in 1800. They are like an index that show which individuals obtained land from the government. This may have been done through a purchase, a homestead, a land bounty, or a land grant. Land patents provide information to help you find the original application, and that's where your gold nuggets for genealogy are found. That's where your proof of citizenship may be shown, birth, death information, and even affidavits. If you search for land records on the National Archives website, you'll be directed to the Bureau of Land Management page, which is glorecords.blm.gov. From the home page, you would click on Search Documents and then Land Patents. So let's conduct a search for William Mercer in Harrison County, Ohio. The hits come up, and I see that there are several. I don't know if these are all the same William Mercer who happen to get different tracts of land, or if they're different people. However, I'll be able to begin my search by clicking on the image, and there is the original patent. I know that this is the first transfer of land from the government to an individual because I see the president, James Monroe, listed on the top. FamilySearch has digitized the Bureau of Land Management tract books. There are almost 4,000 of these books online at FamilySearch. They cover 27 states. FamilySearch does not have the original land records. Those are held strictly by the Bureau of Land Management. However, when you search the tract books and you find a name that you want to research further, you will have the information you need to contact the BLM and get the data that will be of help to you. Next, we'll look at military records. The National Archives is the official repository for U.S. military records. These records identify those who not only served in the armed forces, but also those who were eligible to serve. In these records, you can find information about the soldier and perhaps his family. These are the collections of military records found at NARA that were kept by the federal government. You will see that they cover all branches of the military service as well as pension records. Records from the Revolutionary War to 1912 are found here in Washington, D.C. If you come to Washington to the research room, myself or another volunteer like me will help you fill out a pulse slip for the person that you are researching. A staff member will take that pulse slip and find the original file for your ancestor. They will bring that file to you, and you will be able to open it, view it, make copies of the documents, or digitize them. I cannot tell you what a joy it is to hold a document from the 1800s that belongs to your ancestor, that has information about him. You will get to hold and touch the original documents. More recent military records are kept at the Records Center in St. Louis. I ordered my father's Navy records there. He served in the Navy in World War II. I was surprised to see what came back, a thick file of his military career, starting with his induction in Brooklyn, New York, and continuing on to his honorable discharge. I learned about the ships that he served on, where he served in the Pacific, his advancement in the military, and I even learned that he had medals that he had received, something that he had never told any of us in the family. There are 3 categories of military records. The first is the compiled military service. This just provides basic information about the soldier. But the pension records are the gold mines. In order to obtain a pension, The applicant had to prove his or her relationship to the soldier. That's where your genealogy paper trail begins. As I work on the Civil War Widows Pension File project, we are preparing Civil War pension records to be digitized here at the National Archives. We open these records and we never know what we're going to find in them. Every one is a story. We find affidavits of birth. We find information about death. We find information about the person's family. We find information that states whether the applicant should or should not receive a pension because of the good person he or she is, or the illicit or illegal activities that he or she is engaged in. We find original marriage records. We find letters from the soldier back to the family. If you have an ancestor who may have served in the military, please check and see if there's a pension. I hope you find one, for you're going to find gold. Bounty land is another category. This was given for wartime service between 1775 and 1855. These files contain documents similar to those in the pension files. They do have much genealogical information, so don't overlook them. Currently, FamilySearch has 112 collections of military records. These combine both federal and state collections. They start with the Revolutionary War and go on through to the Vietnam War. Again, some of these records may be resident on FamilySearch, and some may be on our partner sites. This is a Civil War Confederate application for a pardon, a record that I found was particularly interesting. Here we see that Walter R. Smith was requesting amnesty. He was from Kentucky, and the event date 1865 to 1867. FamilySearch has the abstract of this record, which I found by doing a name search for Walter R. Smith in military records. To see the original, I will visit our friends at Fold 3. I click on the partner site, and the records start to come forth. This first one is a wrapper or an envelope for Walter Smith's request for a pardon. Here is the letter he wrote to His Excellency, the President of the United States of America. And again, we see his signature at the end of the document. And of course, we have his official pardon, stating that he is, quote, released from this obligation and is permitted to return home, not to be disturbed by the United States authorities as long as he observes this obligation and obeys the laws in force. This is a fascinating record. Remember, for any of the record collections that we just discussed, you would search under location and United States on the FamilySearch homepage. Now we'll look at the records of groups who interacted with the government. As various ethnic and racial groups had dealings with the federal government, they too left paper trails with many different and varied assortments of documents. Before you dismiss this and think it doesn't apply to you, you need to stop and ask yourself, how would my ancestor have interacted with the government? The National Archives has vast and varied collections, most of which are not generally known to the public. Some, but not many of these record collections have been digitized either by the archives or by one of its partners. For African Americans, these are the core collections at NORA. The pre-Civil War records and military service records are very important to begin your research in. The pensions are crucial, and the 1850 slave census is indispensable. The Freedmen's Bureau records are also a rich collection that have just recently come forth. The Freedmen's Bureau was a federal agency created in 1865 specifically to assist newly freed blacks after the Civil War. They include local census records, marriage records, medical records, even school records, and others. FamilySearch has digitized most of these records, including the Freedmen's Bureau collection. Let's look at one of them. This is an example of a marriage record from the Freedmen's Bureau collection online at FamilySearch. Here we see that Aaron Smith married Mary Smith of Vidalia, Louisiana, in April 22, 1865. Also key in this information is that Aaron Smith served in Company C, 63rd Regiment of the U.S. Colored Troops Infantry. What this piece of information gives us is priceless. Not only do we have a marriage date and place and names, but we also have another record collection that we will dive into, the U.S. Colored Troop Collections. For Native Americans, the National Archives holds the records of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. This agency was responsible only for those tribes living on reservations or for those tribes who maintained their tribal affiliation with the U.S. government. Some tribes, especially those in the East, were under state authority rather than federal authority, and in that case, you would be searching in state archives for state records. FamilySearch collections of Native Americans are right now on microfilm, not yet digitized. However, there are many collections that will be of use to you. Some examples include Creek Indian registers, indexes to the 5 civilized tribes, and many collections of specific specialized records, such as the Yankton, South Dakota school census of Indian children in 1927. To see this selection and to search what FamilySearch has, you would look under the FamilySearch catalog, and you would search under Native American. For Japanese Americans, the National Archives has records of the War Relocation Authority. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the U.S. government ordered that people of Japanese heritage be relocated to internment camps. The War Relocation Authority was created to manage this massive initiative. FamilySearch has the name index of Japanese Americans living in Washington, Oregon, and California who were relocated during the war. This is a digitized index, and as we look at an example, we'll see that there's quite a bit of information here. Not only do we have the name and the event date, we have the actual name of the project, we have the age of the person, we find out whether he or she has ever been in Japan, we find the name of the parents, the father's occupation, and other information, including those all-important identifying factors, the person number, the file number, and the ARC identifier. This is the information you need to continue your research in the archives here in Washington or in College Park. For Chinese Americans, the National Archive has several collections, including records of the Chinese Exclusion Act. This act was passed in 1882, and it outlined a 10-year moratorium on Chinese labor immigration. It also placed requirements on people attempting to come into the U.S. who were of Chinese ancestry, and to those Chinese Americans who were already living here. In 1943, Congress replaced the Chinese Exclusion Act with the quota system, which is still in use today to regulate immigration. FamilySearch has a collection of digitized case files of Chinese immigrants. Many additional collections pertaining to Chinese American research are on microfilm, again searchable at the catalog, and that microfilm can be ordered and sent to your local Family History Center for viewing. Here is an example of an index to the Chinese case files that FamilySearch has digitized. You can see that not only is there a name, but there is also a case number. This is the information you need to continue your research at NARA. For Hispanic Americans, the National Archive has several rich collections. Records of immigrant arrivals from the Mexican border began to be kept about 1906. Cards were kept for each immigrant, which contained similar information to that found on passenger ship manifests. When the U.S. annexed Texas in 1845, the Mexican American War followed, and there are records relating to that at NARA. The Bracero program was an agreement between the U.S. and Mexico to allow temporary laborers into the U.S. That information is here at NARA as well. FamilySearch has digitized the Index of Mexico Border Crossings. There is also a rich collection of microfilm relevant to Hispanic research, covering topics such as church records, military records, and immigration. To find those records, you would search in the FamilySearch catalog. Here's an example of a Mexico border crossing record indexed by FamilySearch. You will see, aside from the name, the arrival date, and that all-important birthplace, we will also see here that a photograph is included, as well as a record identifying number. When researching a specific ethnic group or nationality, remember that FamilySearch has the largest collection of foreign records. For over 100 years, FamilySearch has had cameras worldwide collecting and capturing information not only in the U.S., but throughout Europe and other foreign countries. Although this presentation has been focused on records that are digitized, please remember that what is available online is but a tiny portion of the world's records that have been created. If you can't find a piece of information online, do not assume it doesn't exist. Instead, go on a genealogy field trip. Go to a library, an archive, or courthouse. Dig in and find those records that have not yet hit the screen. You will be amazed at what you'll find in local repositories. My husband and I have been on many genealogy trips here in the U.S., and I've been on genealogy trips in Greece and in the Czech Republic. I can attest that what's in those archives and libraries that are not yet online are well worth every effort to try to find them. And one final thought. Let's put the family back into family history. Involve your family members, especially the youth. They love technology and will look for any excuse to get their hands on a computer or on a tablet, and they would love to be of help to you. You'll strengthen your family, and you can bridge generations when you work together. The people at FamilySearch are dedicated to helping you. Please let us know how we can assist you in moving forward with your family history research. Thank you so much for being with us today. And are there any questions?
Yes, Carol, thank you so much. We have several questions that came in from YouTube. Our first question, where are records of government-seized lands from the Civil War? Where are records of government-seized land from Civil War?
I don't know the answer to that, and I suggest that someone contact National Archives and let a specialist here help you with that. There is a finding aids room here in Washington, D.C., where specialists are available for many different topics. When I work here on Mondays as a volunteer, often people come in with specific questions about specific record collections, and the first thing I do is take them to finding aids. There, someone who is very familiar with that collection will be able to find what the individual is looking for and give him or her the personal assistance that they need.
Excellent, thank you. Our next question, is there a future plan to add the microfilm application for enrollment with the Indians of the state of California?
I don't have that information, and I don't know specifically what record collections are coming on board. I would recommend, first of all, searching the FamilySearch catalog to see what is in the California archival collection. Secondly, FamilySearch is out and about, 240 camera teams all over the world trying to access new records. and making arrangements with states, foreign governments, and U.S. government agencies to find record collections of interest. If anybody has a specific record collection that they would like to see online at FamilySearch, please contact FamilySearch and let them know. We are here to help you get the information that you need, and we can do so when we know exactly what it is that you're looking for.
Thank you so much. Our next question has to do with translation. The question is, does FamilySearch have plans to translate records to English, such as the Japan records?
FamilySearch indexers index in records that are not only in English, but in several foreign languages as well. We do have Japanese and Chinese records that have been digitized in, of course, their native languages. At this point, we are now looking for people who are fluent in many of these foreign languages to assist us with getting those records name searchable. When you look at a book, when you go to the library and you find a book, the very first thing you do is you go to the back of that book and you look for that index, because if there's something in there, you may not have the time to search through 200 or 300 pages to see if your ancestor's name is there. That is what our volunteer indexers do. They take original records in their native language and they make them name searchable. I would hope that if there are people who are of Japanese, Chinese, Polish, Russian, Spanish-speaking, French, we have records from all over the world that need to be indexed so that people who come from those ethnic and ancestral backgrounds who may not be familiar with the language can find who they're looking for. So please join our indexing effort.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next question. I have a pension record copy, but some pages they said couldn't be copied. Will they try to digitize all pages of Civil War pensions?
Civil War pension records are currently being digitized here at FamilySearch. As we mentioned, I'm working on the Civil War widows' pensions. Fortunately, this is being digitized. Unfortunately, it's a huge collection that could take up to 50 years to get digitized. So we have lots of need for help if you're here in the DC area. Regarding digitizing the entire pension collection, I'm sure that that is something that FamilySearch, Ancestry, or other partners with National Archives are in the process of doing. Specifically, again, you may need to contact an archivist here in the Finding Aids room to find exactly what record you are looking for. If you only have a partial record, I'm sure that it is not a problem for you to get the full record as they are here at NARA.
Thank you. Our next question might be best answered by our next presenter, but let's give it a try. When did naturalization citizenship requirements begin, and where would I find them prior to official records at the National Archives?
I think that depends on each state and each jurisdiction. Are we talking going way back to the beginning of our country? I think that is a record collection with specific information that needs to be answered better by a specialist, and I'm sure that there will be somebody who will address that in a later conference talk.
Thank you so much. Our next question is our last one. Does FamilySearch have Boston passenger lists searchable online for arrivals before 1900?
That can be easily determined by going to FamilySearch and looking at that specific collection. In one of the earlier screens, I showed when you're in the United States that you can look under View a specific collection. And so if I had a live feed right now, I would jump right on the internet and answer that question. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it certainly is easy enough to find if you go in and search under United States and then look under those record collections.
Thank you, Carol. That's the end of our session with you today, and we appreciate your time. If the speaker did not get to your question, you can have your FamilySearch questions answered with a specific phone number and an online assistant Get Help link. The phone number for FamilySearch is 1-866-506-1830. We will put that on Twitter if you did not get that number. You may also go to Ancestry's online link for the Get Help online assistance. We will now have a short intermission